The Oscars are right around the corner, and with this Academy Awards, I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a couple new videos leading up to my big reaction on the night, where I react to the winners, the losers, and everything in between that happens. And today's video, we're going to be diving into who would I have nominated. Now, what I've gone and done is taken most of the Oscar nominations, not all of them because I'm not versed in every category such as documentary, live action, short, and so on and so forth, but I have taken a majority of the categories, I've put them down with who was nominated, and I've gone through and decided who I would have taken out and what I would have nominated in that place. I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section, so make sure to leave your thoughts down there. Hit that like and subscribe button for more movie and TV content like this over here on a daily basis, sometimes even video games. And with that said, let's dive into this. First category I actually want to touch on is Best Visual Effects. So what was nominated was The Creator, Godzilla Minus One, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and Napoleon. Personally, for me, I thought three of the nominees on here were pretty damn great picks, like such as The Creator, which I think personally is going to be the one that wins. We'll talk about that later because I am going to be actually doing who will win, my predictions for that in a video coming up soon. But Godzilla Minus One, great triumphant thing to see. It's like a $15 million budget that actually got to there. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I mean, arguably some of the he had to create rockets, so the visual effects just there alone are incredible, but everything else in that film is stellar. But Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning and Napoleon, those are actually the two that I do not believe should have been nominated, and I personally would not have. Now, don't get me wrong, Dead Reckoning is incredible. I love that movie. It was in my top 10 of last year. It's just, for me, with the visual effects in that film, while yes, there are a ton of them, I personally would have nominated John Wick Chapter 4 instead. Now, you might be saying, but Zach, that's actually not a lot of visual effects. There is a lot of visual effects. I saw a whole behind the scenes thing where you got to see where they painted it over, and it was absolutely really incredible. Alongside, like, kind of just as like another one to throw in there is David Fincher's The Killer. There's actually a lot in there as well, and it's actually really impressive, and I'm surprised that that one didn't get nominated as well. But the one that actually like made me roll my eyes the most when it was nominated was Napoleon. Now, Napoleon, if you watch my review, I didn't like that movie. I didn't think it was good. And over here, I like talking about the good stuff, and I'll talk about the bad, and Napoleon was the bad. So I absolutely would not have nominated Napoleon whatsoever, but I would have nominated Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is one of my favorite films of last year. In fact, it was my favorite film of last year. I've said it's my favorite film that I've watched while reviewing movies. There's one I did just see, though, that puts it right up there as well, but for me, Napoleon just did not strike the chord that I truly wanted it to strike with me, and I found it to be boring. The visual effects are good, but I think it should have gone to something a little bit different, something more unique, such as Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Because for people who don't know, yes, animated films do get visual effects in them. So this now brings me to the next category that I want to talk about, which is Best Original Score. There is no particular order for this. I literally just copy and pasted it into a Google Doc so we can have fun with this. And what we had nominated was American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Now, three of those should be in here, which is Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I thought all three of those scores were incredible for their own reasons, and I thought Killers of the Flower Moon, like, I've seen some people kind of shit on the original score. I don't know what you're smoking. Oppenheimer, for me, is the one that a lot of people have been talking about the most. The other two were kind of surprising. American Fiction and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, personally for me, I don't really remember American Fiction's score. The thing that really remembers from that film is Jeffrey Wright's incredible performance, and alongside that as well, the incredible script and direction from Cord Jefferson. Dial of Destiny, I know a lot of people hated it. I personally liked it. I think for me in this part, though, this is probably something that, oh, it's John Williams, let's nominate him. So let's change these two. Who would I have nominated? For me, for Best Original Score, I would have taken American Fiction out and absolutely put Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I still contend that that is the best score of last year. It actually is a giant snub because I think it should be winning the award. What Daniel did with that score was unlike anything. And I don't listen to a lot of musical scores, like outside of watching just the movie. That is one of the few scores that I've listened to on repeat for the past year. And taking out Dial of Destiny, I would have put in Mutant Mayhem. I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was stellar beyond belief, but the score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross was incredible as well. Loved what they did with that. Another kind of like side note, if we wanted to throw another one in, would be The Boy and the Heron, which I think is also another great film, Hayao Miyazaki's movie. The score for that is also really incredible, but for me, those two kind of deserved a little bit more love. Speaking of animated films, let's talk about Best Animated Feature, and that is The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, this entire category I'm actually very happy with. Like, it was a very stacked year in general for Best Animated Films. The one that didn't get in, or a couple that didn't get in that kind of surprised me, was like Such as Migration, which is one of Illumination's best. I think it's funny that no one's talking about that Super Mario Brothers didn't get nominated either. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Now, when I look at this, personally for me, I would take out Nimona. Nimona, I think, is a great movie, but it's, out of everything on this list, it's the one that I have not gone back and rewatched. And I would have put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It's the best Ninja Turtles movie. And it kills me to say that because I love Nimona. But if I were to run down my top 5 from last year, I would probably do that. And if I had to put Nimona back in, I would probably take out Robot Dreams. Just because it's like a weird thing where I don't know how it's like qualifying. Like, I know it premiered in just enough theaters, but like it's just a very weird release that Neon's been doing with that film. But yeah, Mutant Mayhem deserved to be in here. Doesn't mean it's gonna win, but it deserved that damn nomination. Now we jump into Best Adapted Screenplay, and the nominees were American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Now, this category, I'm gonna tell you right now, I would have removed Barbie. Not because I didn't love Barbie's script, because it deserves to be somewhere else, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I would have put, instead of Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon. I think it deserved the nomination. I think that screenplay is exceptional. I think American Fiction deserves to be there. Oppenheimer, of course, deserves to be there. Poor Things deserves to be there. And I would have taken out, personally, The Zone of Interest. No, that might hurt a lot of people because so many people love The Zone of Interest. But personally, for me, I didn't love the movie. Well, I'll talk about that in a future video. But I thought it was really good and exceptional. But the script is not the great thing of that. It is more of the direction of it all. And I don't think it deserves the Best Screenplay nomination. I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is another film that deserved more love. You're probably seeing a trend here of how that film deserves more love, and I believe it deserved it in there. We get into a Best Original Screenplay, and the nominees were Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. In here, I would have taken out Maestro, even though I fucking loved Maestro. I'm one of the main minority on that, and I would have put Barbie. Barbie should be in a Best Original Screenplay. That's what everyone was championing it for until the Oscars chose differently. I think Barbie deserves to be in here. I think they should be in 2 completely separate categories. Do not understand why. And this is going to be controversial. I would have taken out Anatomy of a Fall. That's just me. I recently just watched it. It's a great crime, law, procedural movie. But I do not think it was better than All of Us Strangers script. All of Us Strangers is one of the best films of this last year. It's one that I've seen about 3 times now, and it's really taken me back, and I think there's so much in that film that deserves to be nominated, and it was a tough year, but if it were to sneak in a nomination, it deserved Best Original Screenplay, and I might be smoking pot, maybe it actually should be in a Best Adapted. Anyways, that's what we're getting into. Now we have a little bit of fun and we get into Best Directing. Now, I'm definitely curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this one, but the nominees were Anatomy of a Fall, Justine Triet, Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese, Oppenheimer's Christopher Nolan, Poor Things, Yorgos Lanthimos, The Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer, and for me here, I would have removed 3 people, which is saying a lot because I genuinely think everyone here is deserving. And one of my picks is not Greta Gerwig for Barbie. Just saying that right now. Not saying that she's not deserving either. This is just a really stacked year. So first, I would have removed Justine Triet, and I would have put the entire Spider-Verse directing crew. Those directors were Joaquin Dos Santos, Kent Powers, and Justin K. Thomas. Up next, which is crazy to hear this next thing, but I would have taken out Poor Things, Yorgos Lanthimos. And that says a lot because Poor Things was my 4th favorite film of last year. I think it more excels in the script and performance, personally. I think the directing is great. It's just a stacked year. And I think someone else deserved a little bit more of it here, and that is Chad Stahelski's John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick Chapter 4 is like one of those action films that only comes around so little and so often that I think the last time we got an action film to this level that should have been nominated for Academy Awards was Mad Max Fury Road, which George Miller, that film, got tons of nominations, and John Wick got nothing. Like literally nothing. And I think Chad deserves it specifically for what he's done for the genre, but also what he did in that movie. It's one of the best action films of all time, and it's one of the best films of last year as well. And I would have personally removed the Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer. This is just me though. I completely understand the argument to leave him in there. Again, just wasn't the biggest fan of the Zone of Interest. I appreciate it more than like it. And I would have moved in Celine Song's Past Lives. I think Celine Song's Past Lives is one of the best films of last year. Past Lives deserved more love. It got 1-2 nominations, and it deserved a lot more. So I would have moved that in there. Next, we have Best Actress in a Supporting Role. And the nominees were Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, America Ferrera, Jodie Foster, and Divine Joy Randolph. We're all pretty solid. 2 I would take out. Let's get Jodie Foster the fuck out of there. We don't need her in there. And I probably would have moved in Viola Davis for Air. I thought she was so freaking good in Air. And you expect that from Viola Davis. But I also think Air deserved a little bit more love. So if it was to get one nomination, I would have given it to Viola Davis here. Don't think she should have won. But I would have taken out also America Ferrera for Barbie. Now, I think the reason she did get nominated is because of her giant monologue, but I think, again, that stems more from the screenplay than the performance. America Ferrera was really good in Barbie, but she's not as good as Claire Foy from All of Us Strangers. And Claire Foy did such an amazing job in that movie that it is, like, unfathomable to me that she would not be nominated for this movie. So, again, big fan of All of Us Strangers. Claire Foy should have been nominated here. Fight me in the comments if you want. Up next, we have Best Actress in a Leading Role, and we have the nominees were Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Hüller, Carey Mulligan, and Emma Stone. Now, here, instantly, same thing with Nyad. Get Annette Bening, get the fuck out of there, and we're gonna put Greta Lee for Past Lives. I'm such a big fan of Past Lives. Honestly, like, when it gets down to some of the other categories, it probably should have been also nominated, but it's really tough. But Greta Lee deserved that nomination. I think genuinely in any other year, it should be between her, Lily Gladstone, and Emma Stone. And that's the only one I would change, genuinely. Maybe there's an argument to be made to take Sandra Hüller out, but I do think the strongest part of Anatomy of a Fall is Sandra Hüller, so I would leave her in there. We get into the Best Actor category, and now Best Actor in a Supporting Role, we have Sterling K. Brown, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Gosling, and Mark Ruffalo. Now, to be completely honest with you, I think this entire lineup is near perfect, and I wouldn't take anyone out of here. Except one if I had to make the choice. And that would be Sterling K. Brown. Now, I love what he did in American Fiction. I'm so happy he's an Academy Award nominee finally. But there's a couple other performances that I would have put into this place instead. And I would have put Dominic Sessa from The Holdovers. I would have put Coleman Domingo from The Color Purple. I would have put Charles Melton from May December. I think John Migurato from Past Lives I would have put in there. That's 4 other nominees I would have preferred here. And again, it's just mostly because Sterling K. Brown's role in the film, for me personally, was great, but he's not in it enough. And I know it's Best Supporting, and he supports the film, but I think there were a couple stronger performances that I would have moved in there that really supported their films overall, specifically the 4 I just mentioned. Robert De Niro, I would not take out. I think that's his... It was tough. I almost took him out, but then I was like, no, this is his best performance in like 10 years, 15 years. Robert Downey Jr., no. He's my pick to win. Ryan Gosling, no. He's too entertaining as Ken. And Mark Ruffalo's Poor Things, he was incredible in it. So just for his line delivery alone, he's staying in. Next up, we have Best Actor in a Leading Role, and here we have Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Now, I am in the minority, but I love Bradley Cooper and Maestro. I thought he was excellent. I would have kept him. Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, instant keep. Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, keep. Jeffrey Wright from American Fiction, keep. Coleman Domingo from Rustin. Now, I think he is the best part about the movie. I think he's absolutely incredible, but that wasn't his best performance of the year. The best performance he gave was in The Color Purple this year. And Rustin is an incredible performance as well from him. But there's one actor that deserved to be nominated this year. And honestly, you could have taken out any of these and I would have been happy with it. But that is Zac Efron for The Iron Claw. And The Iron Claw deserved more nominations in general, but if it were to get one, it should have been for Zac Efron. And if Zac Efron were to have been nominated, I legit think he should have won. It's kind of like a Brendan Fraser, The Whale situation, where The Whale didn't really get any nominations, but he won. That's how I think it should have been for Zac Efron. I think he absolutely transformed and turned into this role and turned into one of my best performances that I'm still thinking about. It's been a while since I've thought about a performance for this long. I think the last time I actually thought about a performance this long was probably since Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal. Now we get into Best Picture, and the Best Picture nominees were American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. And you've probably seen a trend here where I'm going to remove certain things. So first off, Anatomy of a Fall, let's get it the fuck out. I like the movie, but it's nowhere near as great as Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which for me is one of the best films ever made. An animated film deserves to be in this category, and Spider-Man absolutely deserves a spot. I'm going to take out Anatomy of a Fall and put it in there. Up next, I would take out Maestro. Again, really liked Maestro. I loved it, in fact. It was in my top 22 films of last year. But it does not beat out The Iron Claw, in my opinion. The Iron Claw deserved to be here. And I think it would have been nominated if A24 pushed it a little bit harder. And last but not least, I would have taken out The Zone of Interest and put All of Us Strangers. Again, I understand the love for Zone of Interest. I understand the love for Anatomy of a Fall. I just would have taken those two out, personally, for me. So all the films that I mentioned are films that I think also deserved a shot in the spotlight and deserved a little bit of more of a chance. That's what I would have nominated, what I would have voted for. And personally, like, I have voted in 2 Critics Guilds, and that's basically what I voted for as well. So definitely let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. What would you have voted for? What would you have switched out? What would you have changed? Look forward to a predictions video also later this week. Then we'll have a ranking of all Best Picture nominees for 2024 later next week. And then, of course, on Oscar night, movie reaction. We're reacting to the Oscars. I'm excited to give you guys that video. I love doing it every year, and genuinely, I have a lot more other content coming up as well. Movie reviews, TV reviews, maybe even a game review here and there, but that's what I got to get out. So thank you so much for watching, and of course, until next time, stay classy.